In spite of everything that was said in the days and weeks leading to this World Cup, everyone now seems to be having an amazing time. The biggest stars are showing up, the underdogs are really barking, the dark horses are galloping, the storylines are riveting, the stadiums are mind-blowing, and the atmosphere is absolutely captivating. People in the USA who had never really cared about football are now tuning in and are being won over by the beautiful game. But they don't just love the sport now. They love the incredible vibes outside the stadium, they love the captivating World Cup parties and parades, they love the fanfare around it, and they love the multiculturalism of the whole thing. It feels like one big global party no one wants to end. But here's the thing, it'll end soon, and then it won't be back for 4 years. Why? If this competition unites the world this much, if everybody loves and enjoys it, if it teaches us this much about one another's culture, why can't we just have it more often? Why can't we have this every summer, or at the very least, every other year? Why does the World Cup happen only once every 4 years? Well, it happens this way for so many reasons actually, and the first one is that a proper World Cup tournament takes a whole lot of resources and preparation to put together. It takes years to put the right infrastructure in place to host the entire world. The stadiums, hotels, security, transport systems, healthcare, all of those things take years to put together and can't be done in just a matter of months. If you're not building from scratch, you're maybe refurbishing, rebeautifying, or doing maintenance in preparation for this grand festival, and these things take time and resources. If they are rushed and not properly funded, we would just end up getting very terrible tournaments every year, and who wants that? But even if nations could afford to do all the preparations in record time, we have to remember that the world doesn't revolve around the World Cup. Even the sport doesn't revolve around it. There are other tournaments that also need to happen, and if the World Cup happens every year or even every 2 years, it would eat those other competitions alive, and nobody wants that. There are the continental competitions like the Euros, AFCON, Asian Cup, and Copa America. You have the Olympics as well, and don't forget the women's and youth competitions too. The World Cup might be the biggest of the lot, but it must also give space for the others to shine. For example, we have the World Cup this year, the Women's World Cup, AFC Asian Cup, AFCON, and Under-21 Euros next year, the Olympics, Euros, and Copa America in 2028, the Club World Cup, Women's Euros, as well as the Under-17 and Under-19 Euros in 2029, before we come to another World Cup in 2030. And that's how things happen in every 4-year cycle. And you simply cannot have the World Cup happening in the same summer any one of these other tournaments are happening. Basically, there is just so much that has to happen every year, so the World Cup simply cannot be front and center every time, no matter how much we want it to be. And also remember that the teams at the World Cup don't just show up there, they have to play qualifying games, which sometimes can happen over the period of 2 to 3 years, because everything has to fit into the limited international breaks during the regular club football season. For this reason alone, the World Cup simply cannot be played every year, or even every 2 years for that matter. We also have to take player welfare into consideration. If the World Cup is played every year, players will simply never have any time to rest, ever. With the current format, professional players who represent their countries get every other summer off. For example, European and South American players get next summer off. They can rest and refresh for the new season, and then in the summer of 2028, they get to play in the Euros and Copa America. In fact, right now, there isn't even enough rest for the players. African and Asian players, for example, will be busy again next summer at their continental competitions. Then, believe it or not, the African players will return to the AFCON again in 2028, and some of them might even have to go to the Olympics that same summer. Then in 2029, the same players will spend their summer playing at the Club World Cup before the next World Cup comes around in 2030. The schedule is already super tight as it is, and injury risks have skyrocketed in recent years. Asking for the World Cup to be played every year or once every 2 years is only going to make things worse for the players, and if the players continue to pick up injuries because they barely get any rest year after year, the quality of football will just continue to drop because the best players are never at their best. And if we can't get top quality football, then what really is the point of it all? Would you not rather sacrifice frequency for quality? But for us, one of the most important reasons the World Cup cannot and should not be played more frequently is because of the vibes. The reason we all love and appreciate the World Cup so much each time it comes around is because it is very rare. One of the reasons players dream of playing in the competition and cherish the trophy so much is because they know the chance doesn't always come. You see, with league titles and even the UEFA Champions League, it is easy to say, we go again next year. The average player can get about 10 shots at winning the Champions League in his professional career, but with the World Cup, the average is 3 tournaments. This year, we just saw Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi become the first players to ever feature in 6 different World Cup tournaments in nearly 100 years of this competition's existence. It took 2 absolute aliens to get to 6 different tournaments, and between them, they've won it just once. That tells you how difficult it is to feature in many World Cups as a professional footballer and how much more difficult it is to actually win it. It is also super unforgivable. One small mistake and you could be out for good. No return leg, no second chance, no returning next year. This makes it mean so much more. For this reason, players cherish playing at the World Cup so much. It's why you see players break down in tears when they are included in World Cup squads. If it were to happen every year, those emotions would be lost and the competition would simply lose some of its value and magic. In fact, the reason we're all reveling in it so much right now is because we had to wait a long time to get this again. If everyone knew that another World Cup would come again next year, this one wouldn't feel as special. Another thing that's less talked about is the preparation time needed for fans. Yes, players, coaches and host nations have to prepare for the World Cup, but fans have to prepare as well. Not everyone can just up and travel for the World Cup. A lot of people have to save, plan and strategize years in advance in order to make it to the tournament. If it were to happen every year, a lot of people would simply not be able to make it. And then we would lose the vibes and multiculturalism that make us love it so much. So yeah, we all love the World Cup. The football is at its peak and the vibes are absolutely unbelievable. Even if you're not there in the US right now, you can feel the vibes from social media. There is absolutely nothing like it. And as much as we want to be able to feel and enjoy these vibes every year, and understandably so, we sadly cannot have it for good reason. But hey, this should serve as more reason for you to enjoy every single moment of the World Cup right now. Watch every game, enjoy every analysis, consume every content, stay up all night if you have to, because when it is over, we won't have it again until 2030. Anyway, it is now time to hear from you guys. Why else do you think the World Cup is held every 4 years? Do you think it is perfect the way it is, or do you propose a different cycle? Get in the comments and talk to us. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.
Hey fam, this is your chance to build the jersey collection you've been waiting for. The Goal 90 bundle deal is live. Buy 2 jerseys and get 10% off. Buy 3 and get 15% off. Buy 4 and get a massive 25% off. Club kits, country kits, retro classics, pick your favorites and save big. And yes, every order comes with free worldwide shipping. Goal 90 bundle deal. Buy more, save more. Shop now at Goal 90 Shop.